Adventureland, rainy, wild, windy Dinosaur Adventure Land last night, wasn't it? I like these metal roofs on the cabins until the storms come, and then you can hear every raindrop. It puts me to sleep. Keeps my wife awake. Did you hear that raindrop? Honey, I heard them all here. Okay. Anyway, January 9th, 2024. Tonight, John chapter 6. Jesus feeds 5,000 men, plus women, plus children. I would guess that's a reasonable number to say 20,000 people. Okay. And then he walks on the water. We'll be there in just a minute. John chapter 6. We're the place where God gets the glory for his creation. We're on Rumble and Odyssey and YouTube and a whole bunch of places. They're all on Dr.Dino.com. PayPal is right there. I think we got to get a new background going up another 100 subscribers. So. Yeah, okay. It doesn't matter. We'll do it again. Okay, we're at Genesis Baptist Church in Lenox, Alabama, where God gets the glory for his creation. We think God made the world in 6 days, and it's round, and evolution's the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the world. God ought to get the glory. We're straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. If you Google Lenox, your computer will actually laugh at you. Say, what? Where? Yeah. But we're straight north of Pensacola, right across the interstate. We have 140 acres to explore. We need 2 or 3 more wells drilled here at Dinosaur Adventure Land. $8,000 each. Unless you drill a well, come on down, spend a couple days. We'll put you in the cabin, let you drill a couple wells for us. We have 140 acres. The whole North 40 doesn't have any water for the cows. We got to haul it up there all the time. In the east of 60-acre plot. Anyway, come on. If you're a well driller, please come. Okay, you can support us. Help us stay open for free. Join our 777 club. By the way, we're selling the gravel shaker finally, and we got enough money to drill 1 well, and the guy's going to come out here soon. 100 foot deep, $8,000. Bible says the lack of money is the root of all problems. Second Opinion, chapter 5. Okay, let's see. If you're a member of our 777 club, or if you made a donation, call my wife, Sandra, extension 1-855 BIG-DINO. Make sure it's going to the right spot. We had a little techno problem there, and we might be able to get it all back. So there's going to be a big deal there. What's that?
Right above your head on the monitor.
Right above my head on this. No. Oh, click them little dots, okay?
Yeah, that's a good one.
They can click on that right on the screen.
Yeah.
Unreal. Okay. DrDino.com, open for 7.73 years now. And we've had a bunch of visitors from all over the place. If you want to help, great. If you don't, get out of the way. We're going to do it anyway. And I forgot to move the blue box. Just imagine that sliding over to the right to a 9. Okay, it's been a busy day, all right? So Jesus had to go through Samaria to help this woman. We talked about that in John chapter 4. What an amazing story. How I like that one of my favorite stories. Okay, John chapter 6. After these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. That little lake, well, pretty good sized lake, 20 miles across, called the Sea of Galilee. It's also called the Sea of Tiberias because that's where the city of Tiberias is, right there. So Jesus is going to go from Capernaum over to the gray area there, and he's going to stand up on a mountain or sit on a mountaintop, and a bunch of people come walk around the lake to come visit him. A great multitude followed him because they saw the miracles which he did on them that were diseased. Why did they follow him? Why do people follow Jesus today? Why are you following him? They hope he'll do a miracle in their life. If things don't go the way they hoped, these kind usually quit following him. You folks been in the ministry quite a while. You've probably seen a lot of folks quit following the Lord. They start off real good, and he's not the sugar daddy they wanted, and so they get rid of him. Yeah. These were following Jesus because they saw the miracles. They hoped to make business contacts, to make money by pretending to be Christian. A lot of people follow Jesus and go to church for that reason, don't you? Why do you follow him? Some people really love him and want to serve him. They're the ones that are going to stick it out when times get tough. Anyway, and Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples, and the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was nigh. So it's interesting. This story of the feeding of the 5,000 we're about to read is found in all 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Very frequently, stories are not found in all 4 Gospels. Sometimes only one of the 4 writers tells the story about it. Like, let's see, the bread of life message. That's only in the book of John. Matthew, Mark, Luke don't tell about that one. The miracle at Gennesaret, John doesn't talk about that one. Matthew and Mark do. The Bible was written by about 40 different men of very diverse backgrounds on 3 different continents over a period of 1,500 years. Most of them never saw each other, maybe even never heard of each other. But they each wrote a book that blends together like a giant puzzle. Can you imagine? People on different continents. I said here, I want you to make a puzzle piece for this puzzle I'm going to make, and I want you to make one of the pieces, and you make one of the pieces, and you can't talk to each other, and you can't see the puzzle. But when you send the pieces in, they all fit. Matthew wrote about Jesus, Mark wrote about him, Luke wrote about him, John wrote about him, and all the pieces just, but you got to kind of put them together sometimes to get the whole picture. Like the feeding of the 5,000 in the book of Luke adds a few details that are not in the book of John. He healed them that had need of healing. Well, then when the day began to wear away, then came the 12 and said, send the multitude away that they may go into the towns that round about and lodge and get victuals. For we are here in a desert place. But he said, give you them to eat. So Luke tells that the disciples came and said, Lord, we got too many people, send them away. And Jesus said, you feed them. That's a detail. See, if you blend all four of these gospels together, it's called the synopsis of the gospels or the harmony of the gospels. Here it said, he told them to sit down by 50s in a company. Doesn't mention that in the book of John, but it does here in the book of Luke. In the book of Matthew, when Jesus heard it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. Now here it doesn't say he went in a boat, but he did go in a boat, which according to John, he went in a boat across the lake. But these people followed him around the lake. It's not that, maybe it's about 6 or 7 miles. I forget. I should have clocked it. Okay. Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion toward them. And he healed their sick. Mentions that in Matthew, doesn't mention that in John. So again, you put the whole story together, you get the details. They followed him on foot. So they walked around the lake while he took the boat across the lake. Now, if you read the story in the book of Mark, it adds a few details. This whole story of feeding the 5,000 took place after the death of John the Baptist. Gospel of John doesn't even mention the death of John the Baptist. Mark mentions it, cut off his head, gave it to the girl. She brought it to her mother. Here, Mom, this is what you wanted. Wonder what she did with that. Some of you are so determined to destroy Kent Hovind or destroy some preacher or destroy some ministry. If you do succeed, then what? You gonna be proud of yourself? They succeeded in killing John the Baptist. Yeah? You proud of yourself now? Some of you succeed in getting my channel taken down once in a while or flagged for some reason. Then what? What did you accomplish actually? Now in Mark, it also mentions, he said, come yourselves apart into a desert place and rest a while. So he told his disciples to come apart to this mountain. Well, it didn't work because other people just followed him around the lake, okay? For there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. And they departed into a desert place by ship privately. And the people saw them departing, and many knew him, and ran afoot thither out of all the cities, and outwent them, and came together unto them. Apparently you could run faster than the boat could sail. Here's the Sea of Galilee. They're going from Capernaum over here to this side, and the people just walked around on the shore. I'm going to just guess it's maybe 5 miles, okay? When Jesus lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he saith unto Philip, whence shall we buy bread, that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth. Pennyworth. Well, a penny was a day's wages in Bible terminology. Let's call that, what, $100, $80 or whatever. Average day's wages for a common laborer. These are guys that go out into the field and pick the peaches or something like that. He said a 200 pennyworth is not sufficient. See, in the book of Matthew, it tells us in Matthew 20 that he agreed with them, the laborers, the guy's going to go out and pick the grapes in the vineyard for a penny a day. Now, that's not our kind of penny, but whatever it is, let's call it $100. So they got Jesus said, $20,000 worth of bread will not feed this crowd. 200 penny worth, okay? One of the disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. Andrew is called Simon Peter's brother a couple times. Peter's the famous disciple. How many of you had a brother that was more popular in school than you and maybe got better grades than you or made more money than you or, I had 2 big brothers, 6'4" and 6'3". I was the little kid in the family, Yeah. And my oldest brother, Mark, genius in mathematics, and he was hard to compete with, and he ended up being an engineer. And then my brother Ross, a star tennis player, great athlete. And then here comes Kent Hovind to school. Who are you? I'm the little brother. Okay. Simon Peter's brother. He said, there's a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? So Peter comes along and says, Jesus, there's a little boy here who's got a sack lunch, got 5 biscuits and 2 fish sticks. That ain't going to feed everybody. Jesus said, make the men sit down. Now we read in the other Gospels that he told them make them sit down by 50s, clusters of 50 people. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. So there's 5,000 men. I'm going to guess there's 5,000 women, and at least 2 kids apiece, probably 20,000 people. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes, as much as they would. Everybody, all 20,000 people, everybody pig out on fish sandwiches. That's a lot of food. When they were filled, he said to the disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Therefore, they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. Wonder what they did with those baskets. Hovind theory. Couldn't prove this to anybody. I think they gave them to that little boy. Said, here, disciples, each of you carry one of these baskets of leftover fish sandwiches home to Mama. Boy walks home. Mama says, honey, we're pretty broke around here. I sent you with our last 5 biscuits and 2 fish sticks. Do you have anything left? Oh, Mama, you ain't going to believe what I got left from that lunch you gave me. He gave it all to Jesus and ended up with a whole lot more. If you will give everything to Jesus, you'll end up with a whole lot more. It's amazing. What can we learn? Jesus can take one little boy's lunch and feed 20,000 people. Even if you don't have much to offer, let Jesus have it all. Watch a miracle. See, that way you don't get the glory. When all you got's 5 biscuits and 2 fish sticks, you're not going to get the glory. Well, I cooked for 20,000 people. No, you didn't. Jesus did. And some people get so proud of their ministry that they start, or they do something for God and they're all proud of themselves. I got the biggest church in the world or whatever. Just give him what you got. You say, Brother Hovind, I can't build a giant church. I can't build a YouTube channel. What can you do? Each of you can do something. Everybody can do something. My preacher used to say, look, you can all do something for the Lord. Some of you could serve as professional bad examples of how not to do it. At least you can do something, okay? Jesus won't let anything go to waste. That boy's mama was thrilled that he gave it all. She got 12 baskets full back. Then those men, when they'd seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, this is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world. Because the Jews were always referring back to the Old Testament, where in Ezekiel and Isaiah and Jeremiah, they prophesied someday a prophet's going to come, going to be the Messiah. So the Jews over there are still waiting on him. You missed it, guys. It happened 2,000 years ago. You missed it. Okay, but you can still find him. When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain himself alone. He's not ready to be king yet. And when even was come, his disciples went down unto the sea. Now we see in the other Gospels, Jesus told them, go down, take a ship, go across the lake. I'm going to send the people away. I'll come meet you later. That's not found in the book of John, but if you blend it together with Matthew, Mark, and Luke, you'll get that detail. And entered into a ship and went over the sea toward Capernaum. So here goes the disciples across the Sea of Galilee. And it was now dark, and Jesus was not come to them. Apparently he said, guys, you go get in the boat. I'm going to send the people away. If I'm not there, take off without me. And they did, because they knew he could walk around the lake like everybody else. And the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew. So when they had rowed about 5 and 20 or 30 furlongs, that's about 3.5 miles, they see Jesus walking on the sea and drawing nigh unto the ship, and they were afraid. I think if it's dark and you see somebody out walking on the water, you'd probably be afraid too. Walking on the water. He said unto them, it is I, be not afraid. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went. Wait a minute, isn't there something missing from this story? Well, from the Gospel of John, it's missing. But if you read the story here in John, they entered into the ship. It was dark. Jesus hadn't come. The sea arose. They rowed 5 and 20 or 30 furlongs. And then he said, it's me. They saw Jesus walking on the sea, and they willingly received him into the ship, and the ship was at land. Oh, there's more to the story. Read it in Matthew. Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and go before him onto the other side while he sent the disciples away. So he's telling them to do this. And when he sent the multitude away, he went up to a mountain to pray. That's not in John. And when even was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, that detail's not in John, but we can put it together here now. Fourth, I don't know what their watch was. Say it's 2-hour watch. So fourth watch, say maybe it's about midnight or so. Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it's a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, be of good cheer. It's I, be not afraid. Right away he answered their fears. Good lesson there. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. Well, that's not in the book of John, but it's here in Matthew. This is where Peter said, hey, Lord, if that's really you, ask me to come out and walk with you. Jesus said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go see Jesus, to go to Jesus. Wow, what a story. But he starts looking at the waves and wind. He took his eyes off of Jesus, what he did, and he sank. I'm sure later the disciples are sitting around talking, hey, Peter, you failed. You got wet. Ha, ha, ha. At least I got out of the boat to walk on the water. Have you ever walked on water, Andrew? Why aren't you wet? What have you done for the Lord? And did you start off doing something and you started sinking? Get going again. Come on. When he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, Lord, save me. When you first start to sink is a good time to pray. Okay, don't wait till you're neck deep, all right? And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. You bring Jesus on board, the problem seemed to go away. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of God. That's the Matthew story. Let's see what Mark added to the story. And straightway he constrained his disciples to get into a ship and go to the other side unto Bethesda. It adds that detail. Where are they going? They're going to Bethesda, while he sent away the people. When he sent them away, he departed to a mountain to pray. When even was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And when he saw them toiling in rowing, hey, listen, are you struggling in life? Jesus sees it. For the wind was contrary to them, and about the fourth watch of the night he cometh unto them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed by them. Well, that detail was added by Mark. He was going to walk right by, and they called out to him. See, if you don't want Jesus in your life, he'll just walk on by. Do you want him? Some people don't want him. Okay. But when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed it was a spirit and cried out, for they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them and said unto them, be of good cheer. It's I, be not afraid. And he went up unto them into the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure. Well, this one doesn't mention Peter walking on the water. In the book of Mark, it doesn't. And he went into the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered. Therefore they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hardened. They just got done feeding 20,000 people with one sack lunch. And now they just get done seeing him walk on the water. And they're still not getting it. Have you seen God do great things in your life and you still don't get it, do you? Still don't get it. Jesus saw them toiling. He sees you too, if you're struggling. When you're afraid, call on him. He answers quickly. Peter might have gotten wet. At least he walked on water. You know, anybody else in history that's ever done that? I did once up in Minnesota, but the top was frozen. Yeah. Do you know anyone else who's done this? Have you ever done that? You see your calling, brethren. Not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. The super smart, the super rich, the super powerful, the super handsome, God doesn't usually call them because they're going to want to take the credit, get proud. I did this because it was, me doing it. God chose the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. God chose the weak things to confound the things that are mighty. If you say, Lord, I can't do anything for you. I'm too weak. I'm too poor. I'm too whatever. Okay, that's perfect. You're qualified. because he gets the glory that way. The base things of the world, the things which are despised, hath God chosen, the things which are not, to bring to naught things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence. He wants to get the glory. Paul said, I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. God's got a calling for each one of you. I don't know what he wants for you to do. People say, Brother Hovind, did God call you to do this? I'm not sure. It needed to be done, that's for sure. I never got a letter or phone call from heaven, but it needs to be done. Somebody ought to take on these atheists and straighten them out. I'm trying, okay? Wherefore also we pray always for you, that our God would count you worthy of his calling, who has saved us and called us with an holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose. What has God called you to do? This guy wrote a book. I don't know who he is or what the book's about, but the title's cool. If you want to walk on water, you got to get out of the boat. Like that. Are you stuck in your comfort zone, afraid to do what God called you to do? Some of you, you know full well God's called you to do something. I don't know. You get alone and talk to God about it. Maybe you're supposed to be starting a ministry, witnessing to somebody. Maybe you ought to be writing a book. Huh? Well, I don't know. Write a children's book. Start there, if nothing else, okay? Maybe you're afraid to go defend your faith. Maybe you ought to start a YouTube channel. Pick one. Just the thing I did on making babies. Somebody ought to do a whole YouTube channel just on how all the different kinds of animals in the world move. Their walking, locomotion methods. And ask the atheist, hey, explain this to me. I mean, a centipede got 100 legs. Which one does he move first? Does he have to think about it? That'd be confusing, wouldn't it? Let's see, which leg goes first? I don't know, Mommy. Where do I? Okay. Start a YouTube channel. Some of you ought to start a ministry. Maybe you ought to be commenting on atheist channels. You say, Bro Hovind, if I do a comment, they're going to attack me. Yeah, you ought to live in my world, okay? Maybe you ought to run for school board, get some of these lies out of these books. Just that. What on earth are you doing for heaven's sake? Again, I don't know who wrote this book, or I know who wrote it, Leonard. I don't know what it's about, but I like the title. Simple question. What are you doing for heaven's sake? There's a war going on. If you're not going to shoot, carry bullets. Pay for the bullets. Take care of the wounded. Do something. Everybody can do something for the Lord's kingdom. What are you doing? Why don't you get alone for a few minutes tonight before you turn on the TV and check all your phone messages and say, Lord, what do you want me to do? Lord, and then when he tells you, you're going to say, I can't do that. I understand. Say, okay, Lord, want me out of the boat? Peter said, hey, Lord, ask me to come out. Jesus said, one word, come. Okay. What are you doing? I don't know. Ask God about it. All right. Any questions or comments, brother?
Sure.
It's part of John chapter 6. Okay. Why weren't they called denarii? I don't know. Hey, everyone. Anyone here heard of Mandela effect? I have. I don't remember what it is. Nelson Mandela. What's it then?
It's where there's a glitch in the matrix. They change things like the name of the Berenstein Bears. And,
oh, they change one thing and nobody notices it? Yeah, a glitch in the matrix. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I remember that now. Okay, so far. Doc, do you by chance have any homeschooling material you put together? If not, do you have a program you would recommend? I have produced quite a few videos on various topics, like I did a series on introduction to physical science, introduction to algebra, to take away the fear of the kids. I start off bonehead level and make it where a fifth grader can say, oh, that's what algebra is about. That way they're not afraid of it. Earth science and space science. Let's see, biology. I just happen to see these on my desk here. So we've produced some, not a whole homeschool curriculum, but enough to get you started. Okay, check on, is there more?
Curriculum series.
Say that louder.
Curriculum series.
curriculum.
You got 104, 102.
Oh, this, yeah, CSE 101, 102, 103, $40 a set or 120 for the whole set. What is all this one? Oh, special messages. Yeah. Check our website, Dr.Dino.com. We got a bunch of stuff. Oh, creation that destroys evolution. Joseph, when are you going to finish all these?
I'm trying, boss. You did a lot. There's like 1,000 things in there.
I know. I covered a whole bunch of animals and plants and stuff like that, just explaining. It's amazing. So some of you ought to be doing some of this. I'm getting old. I'll be 71 in a couple of days. I'm ready to, slow down a little bit. Why don't you pick an animal or a plant or something, or do something? explain how atheists cannot explain it. Okay, let's see. Where are we at now?
On your monitor there?
From Denmark. I don't speak any Danish. I don't know. Ik spreek een klein beetje Duits. Je parle très peu français. That's about it. Okay. I cut with Hovind. Hope you guys are doing good over there. Yep. Kent seems to ever ending, empowered and cell battery. Is that good?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't they arrest you for assault and battery or something? Hope he keeps on going for a long time. I'm going to try. I'm going to. Grandpa made it to 86, and I'm going to beat that or die trying. Okay. What else? Okay. What is the bread of life? Is it just bread? Is it bread infused with the Spirit of Jesus? Is it a symbol of the words? Maybe all those above. I don't know. That's Crybaby. Does he really want to know?
I don't know. I read online that that's a big bad mama.
A big bad mom and Crybaby, same person? Yeah. Why don't you use your real name? Mine's Kent Hovind. I live at 488 Pearl Lane, Repton, Alabama. I'm not ashamed of it. That's my phone number, 855 BIG-DINO. I'm extension 3. You guys are afraid. You're afraid. Okay. That's it. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. And what do we do with this? I got to push a button or something.
Yeah, I'll get that in a minute. You sign off on the other.